Good morning. This is Caron Davis of Caron Realty International. Aloha Friday again. How quickly our week just goes by us. Today we'll be speaking to Rob Billingsley. He is a senior lighting designer of designing with light and 30 years in the business. And one of the sayings, the quotes I saw come across my desk this week in light of what we're going to be talking about, lighting, is the secret to life is put yourself in the right lighting. So on that note, Rob, I thought you would enjoy that quote this morning. And I just want to congratulate you. I know you've won many awards, both residential, retail, shopping centers. You're a guest speaker at Chaminade University and University of Hawaii, and for different architecture and interior design organizations. So on that note, why is lighting so important? I mean, I know you're very passionate about what you do, so I'm going to let you take the stage here.
Yes, I guess I am the choir on this particular issue, if you will. I like to boil it down always to the lowest common denominator, and I think that the expression that lighting affects everything that you see, almost everything that you do, and how you feel is pretty descriptive of how important it is in your life. It really affects everything that we do, and it affects how we feel about everything in the space that we're in. So, yes, it's obviously very important, and I would be prejudiced in any case, wouldn't I? So.
Why don't you take us through a home and, how you make those first impressions so much more of a wow experience for a homeowner?
Okay. So I like to tell my clients that within 5 seconds you make a decision as to whether you like somebody, and 7 seconds you make a decision as to whether you like something. So the point being that we very, very quickly establish a prejudice and or a bias, if you will. So approaching a house is very important how we light it. And I don't think that I'm not speaking about overdoing the facade and physically overdoing the presentation. Just how we can take a very simple, like this is a very, aside from the ground, which is exciting, but a very simple front entry into a house, and then by identifying the things that we want people to look at, we can make that entrance very, very exciting and really enhance the vision and the visual approach so that the person is excited to come in and see what is behind that front door.
Beautiful. And I love the lighting at the entry here. Absolutely stunning. And then going into the home, I know you're going to show us a few more pictures here.
Yeah, this is an entrance to a very beautiful house, unusual architectural design, if you will. But as you come into this house, all of these textures and planes that you would see become very, very bland if you don't light it correctly, and you don't put things into this space that bring your eyes to the items that you'd like people to see. If you notice the slat wood above the vaulted ceiling at the entrance, that's all uplit, and therefore it's really apparent when you see it and you get a sense of this volume. So, and of course, we have art lighting with special art lighting, and then we have managed to frame some of the art pieces with some beautiful sconces on the wall.
And Rob, just on a note on this, for some questions like, I'm seeing that beautiful chandelier. It's so interesting. I mean, where does one find all these beautiful light fixtures, and how many catalogs do you need to go through to really get a feel of what you want in a home?
That's an interesting question. In my library, I must have 1,000 different manufacturers that I have listed, and it's very, very difficult for the average person to find a lot of these things. So it's a reason why you would want to talk to somebody who's familiar and can go directly to the items that would really enhance a particular space. There really are not a lot of avenues that are evident to do this, and it can be absolutely excruciating to go through unless you know exactly where you should be pointed. So I hope that's where I come in, and being able to identify those things.
Great. And then your next slide that we've got, same house. And
so we turned around, right? This is just turning around in this house.
Yes.
And now you can see that chandelier is almost ethereal, little twinkles of starlight, and we've kept a lot of the ceiling planes very, very we've not put anything on them. In other words, we've kept the integrity of those planes by not having a million lights on them, and we've used the walls to uplight those nice wood ceilings. And then if we go to the next slide, as we come into this house, you can see that with the lights that we have on the sloped ceiling, we've been able to really make this couch arrangement and seating area very, very inviting. It's very comfortable. You don't feel like you've got a lot of light on top of you, and yet it's a very inviting environment. And that's done almost complete. Well, not completely, but certainly what we did as an interior design is very, very enhanced by the lighting that we've applied to it. So we've taken lights on sloped ceilings and been able to bring them down to aim exactly where we want to, which can be kind of tricky to do.
Yes, very much.
And you see the lights on the side that uplight the ceiling, keeping the integrity of the ceiling nice and clean.
So those lights are actually going up and not down. They're reflecting off the ceiling, the ones on the side there.
That's exactly right. They're cut into the wall, in fact, so you can't see the source at all.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it just makes the room look so much more glamorous and like the mood. And I know you mentioned to me something about you can even set, with technology now. Did you want to comment a bit about how you can create sceneries, different scenes in a home with technology these days?
Yeah, we can talk about that. We've had the technology to do this for quite a while, but it has been extremely expensive to bring an architectural control system into a building. And today, the technology is improving so much, and the emphasis is on usability and user-friendly. And so the manufacturers have come up with some products that you can control all the lighting in the house off of a single button, or let's say 2 or 3 buttons, and have 2 or 3 what we call scenes. It all comes from putting people on stage, after all. I mean, architectural lighting design really is a breakaway from theatrical lighting design. And so what we're trying to do is create those sorts of scenes that you otherwise might only experience if you go to a theater. We can make it very warm and exciting, and we can dim everything down and make it very, very dramatic, all with the same equipment.
And what does the cost of that run these days? I mean, because you did mention it's so much more economical than it was.
Well, instead of $40,000 to $250,000 to do this, we can do it in the range of $7,000 to $15,000, which is not much more actually than just putting in regular wall box dimmers, which are going to cost you, let's say, $5,000 in a equivalent setting, $5,000 or $6,000 in equivalent setting. So it's just a little bit more now to do this and have really fantastic control of the entire environment, the entire space, all at one touch.
Very nice. And moving on to our next slide, I know you've got a few more here to discuss the kitchen area.
This is a kitchen, and if you look at the lighting actually on the ceiling directly to the front of the picture, you'll see that it sort of turns a corner. And if you notice, the kitchen actually turns that corner too. So the lighting is all really dedicated to lighting the surface of the countertops and not lighting the people in the stools that are sitting there, so that it's a much more comfortable environment. And you have to always make note when you're looking at pictures of lighting that a camera sees a light with much more intensity than the eye does. So when you're actually in this space, these lights are very, very non-glary and controlled, and the beam patterns are very controlled. Makes the kitchen, though, really wonderful. All the lights are symmetric with the cabinetry.
Nice.
That's very important in a kitchen.
Very good. And then we'll go to the next slide here.
Taking a look at a dining room. In this particular case, the client really loved the view plane to see outside into the gardens. He had remarkable gardens. So no chandelier, and what we did was we put a center light in the middle of the table. It's a very tight beam pattern, and it lights that floral arrangement, and that becomes the chandelier. And that can change from day to day, week to week. You know, entertainment to entertainment, that can be always different. And we have a very nice, clean view plane out to the outside, and yet the table is very enhanced. We have lights on the heads of table also, and light on, if you can see, light on the art. And this was an early picture in this particular project. So if you look down the hall to the left, we have a lot of lights lighting that wall now. That wall is an art gallery. So unfortunately, this picture was taken just prior to that being filled in.
Beautiful. And, you know, it's interesting. We talk about, we think chandeliers, I'll put a chandelier above a table and it dresses up the area. But what I've seen you do numerous projects is you look at the environment around and you don't want to take away from what's already there.
Yes, sometimes we use chandeliers and sometimes we don't use chandeliers strictly as a result of the environment that we're trying to work with. So
nice.
We have to think about that. And as you can see, without it, it can be as fantastic as it can be with it.
Beautiful. And then sharing it on to the next slide, the bathrooms, of course, so important with lighting.
Bathrooms are very important. Mostly, of course, for those people that like to put on makeup and be able to, and everybody who wants to see themselves cleanly. So one of the tricks to doing a bathroom is having the lights on the mirror at eye level. It's one of the only places where we want light at eye level. So the trick is to try and do something really beautiful with that and bring it down to eye level so that you can see yourself really well, but at the same time, it provides a very beautiful environment. And what you can't see in the slides, but what light is doing in the slides is it's enhancing these really fabulous tile walls at the same time.
Beautiful.
So that they part of the space.
Very stunning. And going on to our next slide here too, I'd love you to comment on that also, the bedrooms.
So a look at this is actually a very, very large bedroom.
Yes.
Maybe we don't all have the luxury of having such a large space, but how do you take a very large space like this and work with it so that it's a very, very inviting environment? And not a lot of light pressure, if you will, to the lanai, the outside, because we want people to be able to enjoy the environment. So nothing out there really having precedent that would keep you from seeing outside, which is fantastic. And at the same time, we were very colorful, and we lit the art, and we made a seating arrangement at the far end of the room that is also a very, very inviting environment in this space.
You know, Rob, I just want to thank you. You know, I think the awareness today of talking to you, of really looking at your environment and having the lighting enhance those moods, which we don't often think of. We just think, oh, we need lighting because my lighting's not that great at home. But we never think of how can I put the lighting with the environment and have that wow effect every day that you live, you know, at your home and everything.
That's right. Initially, we used to put a light in the center of the room, and we turned it on, and we had light in the space. And then we started bringing beautiful fixtures into the space and thinking about how that interacted with the space. And now we're thinking about how we light the space itself. So we try to light art, we try to light plants, we try to light the architecture, and keep the glare of light off of the people so that the environment lights up and you are in a very comfortable, friendly environment. So it's an art on how you do it, how you achieve it, and I'd like to think that we do that very, very well.
Well, I just, I really wanted to open this up today to our listeners and let them know that, if you are thinking about doing lighting, definitely, talk to an expert. Don't just put a light up, because there's so much more when you're living in your home to enjoy with, the lighting and the mood controls. And how would a client, like, they're listening today and they're going, oh, I really do need to do something about my lighting. How do they make that first step?
Well, it's a telephone call, of course. I do both new projects, which are usually initiated by an architect calling me, talking to a client saying we need a lighting consultant for the project, and calling me and inviting me into the process. And then when remodels take place, quite often the call comes from the owner himself saying, I really need a lighting consultant to help me do this correctly. And so I get involved from that point of view. And there's a process in both of these scenarios that we go through. If it's a new project, the process is a little bit more inclusive in the different stages of design development for a project. When it's a remodel, then the process goes right straight to, excuse me, right straight to what we would do in terms of enhancing the environment just with the lighting design.
Well, thank you. And Rabbi, we will put your details, on our Facebook when this gets put onto Facebook. And also feel free, anybody, if you'd like to reach out to me, and I can give you Rob's details. And on the note of light and sunlight being lighting today, we've our photos from Marianne that we do weekly. She was kind enough to bring up some photos about color and how the light hits the all the nature here in Hawaii. So of course our parakeets and the rose-ringed parakeets here, and the lighting touching them, showing beautiful their beautiful colors. And our second photo here after that is how the lighting's hitting the sails. And this, Rob, this goes into the natural light, of course, being out there, and how lighting and can change everything so much more dramatically. And our next slide is the golden hour sunlight, where, our endangered Hawaiian monk seals, and how the light is hitting that whole scenery, very dramatic. They're at Diamond Head and the clouds are coming in, and looks like the weather's going to be turning there. And our next slide, of course, is lighting gives a dramatic effect to the beautiful water lily. As you can see how it hits the water lily here. And our last slide, of course, is sunset afterburn. The most colorful part of the sunset is, the afterburn. And again, how beautiful the natural lighting is also. And then, of course, thinking on that note of the lighting we do in our house, how dramatic and beautiful our homes can be. Rob, it's been such a pleasure having you today. And I'm sure our listeners and we'll just get so much out of this. And please feel free to share this video with friends who are thinking of building or remodeling. It's lighting's a very, very special part of the home, and it should be done carefully, because it will enhance where you live tremendously. Thank you today.
Thank you.
Okay, aloha.